is a lot. That is 8 out of 10. That is a majority of people deal with lower back pain. And it's not always, as you'll find later, I'll talk about, it's not always just people that are sedentary. That can be one of the causes, but it's not always the cause of back pain. There's many different reasons and causes that create pain like that. So here's some common so common causes of lower back pain can be sprains or strains. You could have trauma, so that could be an injury, problems with, the discs, arthritis or other medical conditions, other factors like nerve issues, skeletal issues, or infections, or a big thing that I'll talk about in a little bit, muscle imbalances like weak core, tight hips, weak glutes, tight quads, just a few that can pull in different directions and cause that lower back pain. So some triggers. Like I said earlier, it's not only just inactive lifestyle, but as you can see on the bottom right, overworking or the weekend warrior, which seems to be a lot of people out here in Colorado. But even things like poor sleeping positions where you could also just have a bad mattress, definitely something that is good to invest in. Using tobacco, being stressed, poor body mechanics. So picking up, that's why we like to make those ergonomic videos to ensure that people are doing things correctly, because it usually happens when you're lifting snow or getting groceries out of the car when you least expect it. That's how you kind of tweak stuff. But definitely inactive lifestyle is a big part of lower back pain, as you'll see. So here is some preventing. You can add exercises. Strengthening your core is really important. Obviously stretching, whether that's yoga or just dynamic stretch before a workout, after a workout, just staying physically active. A great quote I heard from somebody at the Wellness Center is, if you rest, you rust. And I like that. And I believe in that. So just staying consistently moving. Now, it's good for the joints, get the synovial fluid moving. Ergonomically sitting up correctly. So as you can see me right here, you don't want to be hunched over at your desk like this. You want to pull the shoulders back, and we'll talk about tight shoulders here in a little bit, but just in properly keeping the core stable and upright. And obviously listen to your body. If you feel like it's bad, probably shouldn't do it. So here's some managing discomfort, how to deal with it. You can do heat and ice. That's going to be good for inflammation, to get rid of inflammation, to help relax muscles. Keep moving. Like I said, if you rest, you rust. Keep moving. Even it doesn't have to be heavy lifting, just going for consistent walks, getting up out of your chair consistently is a good thing to ease back pain. Physical activity, sleeping habits, just staying overall healthy. So we're going to go through some basic stretches, and then I'll go through some muscular imbalances that I'm excited about. So the first one is the hamstring stretch. This is a basic one where you're going to put the foot forward, you'll lean, hip hinge, so you don't want to fight it. A lot of people will do stretches and they'll kind of ease away from where the tightness is. You want to feel the tightness. There's a difference between the good pain and the bad pain, and you want to get that good pain, that lengthening of the muscle. That's going to help. Stretching helps you be able to move the joint in a full range of motion. So it's going to help keep you fluid. So there's a hamstring stretch for you. And this is a back bend. So just back, forth. A good one, you can even put the arms up to open up the shoulders. Shoulders usually get hunched over. Core is weak and it's tight. So this is a good one to do the opposite. You can even do this on the floor like we did in our WOD yesterday in Power Hour, where we brought the arms up, bringing back. That's a good way to open up the core and do the back bend. Another tight muscle that you deal with lower back pain, ironically, is the quads. by the end of this, you'll realize how interconnected the body is and how everything feeds off each other. But here's a great quad stretch. And you notice she's grabbing by the ankle and not the toes. That's going to help stretch more of the quad. If you grab by the toes, it's going to be more of an ankle stretch. You'll get your quad, but that's a common mistake a lot of people make. If she wanted to hip hinge with that, that'd be a good way to get the hamstring that's on the ground while she's getting the quad in the right leg. Let's see. So one of my favorites, if any of y'all, a few of you in here have trained with me, I always talk about the psoas. Basically, the psoas is a huge muscle, as you can see in the picture. The psoas is a huge muscle that connects the lower body and the upper body. And it starts at around the lower back region, the lower lumbar, and connects to the hips. So it's going diagonally across the body. And it's really important. And a lot of people don't even know what the psoas is or how important it is. It's basically used in almost everything you do. We've already used it since we've been on this call. You use it to stabilize your core, your trunk. You use it to stand up. You especially use it to run. So that's going to be a lot of flexion where you're bringing your knees up of the hips. That's something that I deal with, is the tight hips. And I know my psoas is tight. But the thing is, the psoas affects everybody. It doesn't just affect sedentary people from sitting so much. Sitting is going to be, you're just flexing the hips and you're hunching over. That's not good. But also people that are, especially runners, and I know a lot of runners out here in Colorado, your psoas gets tight and you have to strengthen the posterior side as well. If you get too hunched, it's going to get too tight, and it's a very hard thing to release. And I'll talk about that in a second. But one of the big things with the psoas is that it masks a lot of other pains. So people will have knee pain and they don't know why they have knee pain, or they have tight quads, or they have tight hamstrings, or they have even stability issues where, your core, you're hunched over. Why is that? I don't know why I do that. It could be because your psoas is tight and it's pulling on everything else. So the psoas is tightened up and it's going down the quad, going down the knee, causing knee pain. So it's definitely, I think a lot of people, if they haven't ever had their psoas released or stretched it, when they do finally get that release, they realize how much that's the center holding on to everything. But a great thing to do would be to talk to a physical therapist. I went and talked to Chris McCallum, for those of you that know her. And I mean, she could instantly see, my hip flexors were tight, and it was because of my psoas being so tight. And they have tools out there. If you'd like to look online, they have little things that you can roll around on. But here's a good stretch that you've probably seen if you've taken TRX, where you're grabbing above and you're doing a lunge and you're really stretching that hip. Again, it's a hard one to hit, but if you go through a full yoga class, you're probably hitting, the psoas, as well as doing some of these manual stretches or seeing a physical therapist. But I think that's the maybe the most underappreciated and misunderstood muscle, that people don't respect it, because it will, it can put you down. It will put you in the bed and you won't know why. So definitely something to keep in mind. Next, super important muscles, the glutes. The gluteus maximus is the largest muscle in the body. They're large, they're strong, but something I learned from Jess Cravens that she told me is that the glutes are like a manager or a boss that puts off work to everybody else, and that causes problems. The glutes are so strong, but they're lazy, essentially. So they don't want to work. So they're either underactive or underdeveloped, and that can cause serious problems. You think you're activating your glutes and you're not. Well, a couple of ways to make sure that your glutes are getting activated are going to be some of you can see, for those of y'all that have taken some of my classes or trained with me, you see that middle one with those evil ankle bands. Those are great to warm up, especially the gluteus medius, which a lot of people have imbalances, and as well as some of these leg lifts on the side. It's a great thing to do before a workout, especially if you're going to run or do legs. It'd be great to take 5 minutes and warm up those glutes. Once they get going, they'll start working. But if you just hop right into it and you think you're working them, you could potentially be doing more damage than good by doing that training. So another thing that is really good to help get the glutes firing and make sure you're even, you don't have too many imbalances, is going to be isometric training, or not isometric, excuse me, unilateral training. Isometric is good as well, but unilateral training, which is going to be one side. You can see in the bottom right, this lady performing a one-legged glute bridge. That's going to take a lot of balance and stability, but it's also one leg at a time. So as opposed to doing a double leg where maybe her right leg is stronger than her left, so it's like 70-30% where she's working, and that's constant all the time, 70-30 in everything she does. That's going to create imbalances and cause havoc on the whole body, and then it comes back to the low back. Why does my back hurt? I got to fix my back. Well, really, you have to strengthen your left glute medius, and that could be the problem. So it's definitely, the low back is tricky with that, but these are some great stretches and little warm-up exercises to do to get those glutes firing and doing what they're supposed to do. Another one, hamstrings, the posterior chain. Like I said earlier, we got a lot of runners and everything that are working on the front side, so their quads are very strong, but their posterior side is a little bit weaker. Definitely something to focus on just consistently to stay even. You want to stay yin and the yang. You want to be not just strong in the front side, but the back side as well. But a lot of things are something that people, I guess, think is maybe they think that their hamstring is tight when in reality their hamstrings are weak. So you just have to train them. You have to make sure that you're actually working the hamstrings and you're not, say you're doing a single leg deadlift like this exercise in the bottom left. You could easily do this and kind of avoid the hamstring and kind of hide from it. You have to force yourself with that mind-muscle connection to feel out the exercise and to feel the stretch, feel the movement. That's another thing I'll get into is the mind-muscle connection, especially with the hamstring, I feel like is super important. I like doing just at my house. I like doing, barefoot, moving around, stretching, doing not a full workout, but just feeling. It helps me get grounded to the ground and really get the muscles working, especially my hamstrings. Again, the hamstrings super important for unilateral exercises like this single leg deadlift, or you can see the woman on the top right using the TRX. You're leaning. That would be a little bit less stressful to use the TRX. And actually the TRX is a great piece of equipment to use to stretch the lower back in general because it's not pulling you down, but it's got the pivot point up top. For those of you that have taken my classes or trained, I like playing around with the TRX to stretch. You could easily do a deadlift with it, or you could, from the top, stretch from the side and get the good stretches. And lastly, on the bottom right, you can see this woman using a band that looks like a yoga class or a yoga pose. That's a great stretch because it's going to help hit all sides of the hamstrings, which is important. Some parts of the hamstring are tighter than others, and it's just important to hit all different angles. So she's going to take that, pull it over right. She's going to take it, pull it to the left, to the right, pull it over, all over the place just to try to warm those hamstrings up. Yeah. Another thing, lastly, for the hamstrings, everybody wants a big deadlift. I would say it is more important to get the range of motion and to actually get the lift, because you might be able to, halfway do a good pull one time, but who knows, are you really doing it right? So I'd say lower the weight, slow it down. That's a great way to ensure you're getting the best bang for the buck. Another set of muscles are the trapezius muscles. Those are everybody thinks the traps are up here when in reality, I have a picture in the next slide. The traps come from here and they go down about halfway through your back. So it's split up into 3 traps, upper, middle, lower. And a big issue that a lot of people have is their middle and lower trap is a lot tighter and a lot more underdeveloped than the upper traps. So the upper traps get tight, the lower traps get a little bit weaker, and this causes the shoulders to pull forward, and in turn, lower back pain. Why is my lower back hurt? I got to fix my lower back. You have to fix your lower traps to try to even it out and work on that posture. And a trapezius rule of thumb that I heard from a physical therapist was, for every vertical trap exercise you're doing, your upper trap, you want to be doing some lower trap work. So we'll go to the next slide. You can see the face pull, one of my favorite. You can change the face pull to all different angles, but that's going to do a good job of getting a large portion of the traps. On the bottom left, we have a great stretch. One of my favorite, you stretch across and you lean into it. I actually did it in a stretching video. I used a wall in my house. You just grab on and twist. Another great exercise that I see Jessica doing quite a bit with her clients training are these YTWLs. So just leaning over, and you don't need much weight. You just need to get the range of motion. Lastly, these top two fun things, the lacrosse ball and the foam roller. They hurt, they're great. You should definitely do them. You can get on the ground and just roll around on them, especially your traps, especially with that lacrosse ball. It gets it in spots that the foam roller has a tougher time with. But here is some, so those are some of the muscles around the lower back that you can either strengthen or have imbalances, or you need to stretch or focus on a little bit more. That could probably make more of a difference than you think. So here's some red flags for you to keep in mind if you have some serious issues going on. So if you have numbness or tingling, definitely seek a doctor. Pain that is not improving, or you feel like you're hurt, severely hurt, obviously, go see a doctor. If you only have pain at night, go see a doctor. Back pain or trouble when urinating, weakness, or unexpected fever or weight loss, go see a doctor. And here's just an easy guide to a healthy lower back. Focus on your posture. Stand up. So after this break, take 5 minutes, or after this video, take 5 minutes, walk around, move around, get the blood flowing. Stretch and strengthen. So go through some of those basic stretches that I just went over, and do some of the basic strengthening. I'd like to call it prehab. So you're doing that stuff before the workout to ensure that you don't have to go to rehab. And then meet with a professional. Meet with, myself, Jessica, Justin, one of the physical therapists on staff. We all love this stuff. We're very interested in it. If you want to just talk about it, if you want a specific exercise prescription about it, if you want to maybe in the future we'll have some stuff coming about movement efficiency stuff to help with imbalances, but that'll be in the future. And then best for last, just eat a healthy diet, stay hydrated. So what will you do next? So ask one of our physical therapists about telehealth or a personal exercise prescription from a personal trainer. Try one of the recommended stretches, break up the prolonged sitting, and just add a few minutes of movement a day. And like I said, in the future, we hope to be able to bring to you guys some movement efficiency stuff. So there we go. Thank you guys so much for coming. And if you have any more questions, reach out to me. If you want to see this PowerPoint, feel free, reach out to me and I'll send it to you.